The wind howled outside the underground laboratory on Jeju Island as Dr. Ha-eun Kim checked her calculations for the 5th time. The numbers were perfect. She allowed herself a small smile as she looked at the device on her workbench. Small, unassuming, and capable of changing humanity's future. 3 years ago, Ha-eun had been a respected physicist working at Seoul National University when government agents approached her. That day changed everything. They showed her classified satellite, images of strange energy signatures deep within Earth's crust. The Galactic Council, aliens who had made contact with Earth 30 years ago, were secretly mining resources from the planet's core. "You've made progress," said a deep voice from the doorway. Ha-eun turned to see Admiral Taewon Park entering her lab. He looked tired. The recent earthquakes in the Pacific had claimed thousands of lives, all because of the Council's mining operations. "The energy redistribution matrix works," Ha-eun said, gesturing to her device. "I've named it Echo." Taewon moved closer, examining the small metal object with glowing blue lines etched across its surface. "It doesn't look like much." "That's the point. The Council thinks we're still figuring out basic fusion. They won't suspect what Echo can do. What it could do was remarkable. Echo didn't generate energy, it redirected it. Any energy weapon or shield aimed at a vessel equipped with Echo would have its power sent right back at the source. The Council's technology relied on energy-based systems for everything from weapons to life support. "Will they detect it?" Taewon asked, his voice low. Ha-eun shook her head. "Echo operates on principles they never discovered. Their science developed differently than ours. They focused on energy generation. We focused on efficiency and redirection." Taewon nodded, his eyes reflecting the blue light from the device. "Ambassador Do-yeon arrives tomorrow for his inspection. The Council still doesn't suspect we've discovered their mining operations." The Admiral was interrupted by a young soldier entering the lab. "Sir, the test fleet is ready." "Good." Taewon turned back to Ha-eun. "Can you finish a working prototype for each ship by tonight?" She nodded. "Just need to finalize the calibrations." Later that night, Ha-eun watched from a hidden observation deck as 5 unmarked spacecraft took off from the underground hangar. Each carried a version of Echo. The ships looked ordinary, outdated even, precisely as planned. The Council's satellites would detect nothing unusual. Commander Ji-ho Lee's voice came through her earpiece. "All systems normal. Council satellites tracking us but registering only standard propulsion." "Test phase beginning," Taewon announced from the command center beside her. The 5 ships moved toward an uninhabited area of space near Neptune. Waiting there was a drone ship mimicking Council technology. As the human vessels approached, the drone activated its weapon systems. Ha-eun held her breath. Years of work came down to this moment. The drone fired. A pulse of energy shot across space toward the lead human ship. The blast never hit. Instead, the energy wavered, then reversed course, striking the drone with its own force. The drone's systems flickered and died. The command center erupted in cheers. Ha-eun felt tears in her eyes. It worked. "Send the ships back immediately," Taewon ordered, cutting through the celebration. "We can't risk the Council detecting anything unusual." As the test ships returned to Earth, Ha-eun began packing her equipment. For Ambassador Do-yeon's visit, she would work in the decoy lab, a facility filled with impressively primitive human technology designed to reassure the Council that humans remained controllable. The next morning, Ha-eun stood beside Taewon as a sleek silver spacecraft descended from the clouds. The Council's ships always made her feel small. This one was no exception, its hull gleaming with technology centuries beyond human development, or so the Council believed. Ambassador Do-yeon emerged from his ship. He looked almost human, except for his violet eyes and the faint blue tint to his skin. He smiled, showing 2 perfect teeth. "Admiral Park," he said smoothly, "always a pleasure to visit your developing world." Taewon bowed slightly. "The honor is ours, Ambassador. May I present Dr. Kim, one of our leading scientists?" Do-yeon's eyes swept over Ha-eun with polite disinterest. Of course, I look forward to seeing your latest advancements. The tour of the decoy facility went exactly as planned. Hayun showed the ambassador their cutting-edge fusion experiments, technology the council had mastered centuries ago. Do-Yun nodded approvingly, occasionally making notes on his translucent tablet. Impressive progress for your species, Haki commented as Ha-Un demonstrated a propulsion system that was actually 50 years behind what humans had really developed. We hope to achieve interstellar travel within the next century, Ha-Un replied humbly. Do-Yun smiled. The council will consider expanding your travel rights when you've shown more development. For now, the protection protocols remain in place. Protection protocols. The council's term for keeping humanity trapped in their solar system. Ha-Un lowered her eyes to hide her anger. Later, as Do-Yun prepared to leave, he placed a hand on Taewon's shoulder. One more thing. Our sensors detected some unusual activity near Neptune yesterday. Would you know anything about that? Ha-Yun's heart skipped. Taewon's face remained impassive. Likely one of our deep space probes, the Admiral replied. We lost contact with Probe 7 yesterday. Perhaps that's what your sensors detected. Do-Yun studied him for a moment, then nodded. Perhaps. Maintain your assigned space corridors in the future, for safety. After the ambassador's ship disappeared into the clouds, Ha-Un released the breath she'd been holding. He suspects something, she whispered. Taewon shook his head. He suspects, but he doesn't know, and by the time they figure it out, we'll be ready. As they walked back to the real laboratory, deep underground, Ha-Un thought about Echo. So small, yet powerful enough to change the balance of power in the galaxy. The countdown had begun. The silver shuttle of Ambassador Do-Yun glided through Earth's atmosphere, breaking through clouds as it descended toward the Pacific. From his viewport, Do-Yun observed the blue planet with mild interest. His mission reports to the Galactic Council always followed the same pattern. Humans advancing slowly, still centuries away from being a concern. Do-Yun checked his data pad. This was his 5th visit to Earth in 10 years. Each time he met with their leaders, inspected their technology, and left satisfied that humans remained safely contained. The Council had classified Earth as a protected development zone, official language that meant humans were not permitted to leave their solar system or develop technology that might threaten Council interests. Ambassador, we're approaching the Korean Peninsula, his pilot announced. Do-Yun nodded. Set us down at their designated landing zone. As the shuttle descended, he reviewed images of the human scientists he would meet today. Dr. Ha-Yun Kim was their lead physicist, intelligent by human standards, but still working with rudimentary energy concepts. Admiral Taewon Park was their military representative, responsible for keeping human spacecraft within approved zones. The shuttle touched down on a circular landing pad surrounded by green mountains. Do-Yun straightened his ceremonial robes before the door opened. He enjoyed these visits. The humans treated him with such reverence, unaware that his species considered them barely more advanced than their own primitive ancestors. Welcome back. To Earth, Ambassador, Admiral Taewon said with a slight bow as Do-Yun emerged. Admiral Park, always a pleasure to observe your world's progress. They walked toward a complex of buildings nestled in the valley. Do-Yun noticed increased security. Since his last visit, more guards, more cameras. Interesting but not concerning. Humans often increase security measures after natural disasters, and the recent earthquakes in the Pacific had been devastating. We've prepared demonstrations of our latest advancements, Ha-Yun said, as they entered the research facility. Nothing too impressive by Council standards, I'm sure, but we're quite proud. Do-Yun smiled politely. All species must follow their own development path. The Council merely ensures that path is safe for everyone. The tour proceeded as expected. Ha-Yun showed him fusion experiments that were laughably inefficient, propulsion systems that could barely reach Mars, and communication technology that couldn't even penetrate the heliopause. Do-Yun made encouraging noises at appropriate moments. And this is our advanced materials lab, Ha-Yun explained as they entered a room filled with various metals and compounds. We're particularly excited about our progress with carbon nanostructures. Do-Yun examined the samples with feigned interest. His species had mastered molecular manipulation millennia ago. Still, he had to admit the humans were advancing slightly faster than projected. Nothing concerning, but worth noting in his report. Unknown. To Do-yun, 500 meters beneath the facility he toured, the real work of humanity was taking place. In a vast underground chamber, Commander Ji-ho Lee supervised as technicians installed echo devices into 20 spacecraft. Careful with the calibration, Ji-ho instructed, as workers fitted the small device into the control system of a sleek, black vessel. If the energy pathways aren't perfectly aligned, the redirection won't work. Unlike the outdated ships shown to Ambassador Do-yun, these vessels represented the true extent of human innovation, built with materials that absorbed, rather than reflected sensor scans. They could travel at speeds the Council believed impossible for humans. Most importantly, each carried an echo device. Ji-ho checked his watch. The ambassador's tour would last another 3 hours. By then, the fleet needed to be ready for its first real mission. "Status report," he called out. 15 vessels equipped. "And tested," his second-in-command replied. 5 remaining. Ji-ho nodded. "Maintain schedule. We move at 1800 hours. Back on the surface, Do-yun was growing bored. The humans were showing him their advanced medical technology now. Crude genetic manipulation techniques his civilization had abandoned as inefficient centuries ago. "Remarkable," he said automatically, as Ha-un demonstrated a gene splicing procedure. His mind wandered to the strange energy readings his ship had detected near Neptune. The humans had explained it as a malfunctioning probe, but something felt off about their explanation. "Would you care to see our space program updates?" Taewon asked, interrupting his thoughts. Of course. They moved to another building where large screens displayed the positions of human spacecraft throughout their solar system. Do-yun noted with approval that all vessels remained within approved zones. "As you can see, Ambassador, we strictly adhere to Council guidelines," Taewon explained. "No human vessel has ventured beyond the Kuiper Belt." Do-yun nodded, satisfied. The Council's primary concern was keeping humans from discovering the mining operations at the edge of their solar system. As long as human ships stayed within the inner system, the secret remained safe. "Your compliance is appreciated," Do-yun said. "It ensures your continued protection." Ha-un smiled thinly. "We value the Council's guidance." As the tour concluded, Do-yun prepared to depart. "Your progress is acceptable," he told them at the landing pad. "I will report that Earth remains on an appropriate development trajectory." "Thank you, Ambassador," Taewon said with another bow. "Safe travels." Do-yun's shuttle lifted off, quickly, disappearing into the clouds. Only then did Ha-un and Taewon allow their diplomatic masks to fall away. "He suspects nothing," Ha-un said quietly. Taewon checked his watch. "Ji-ho should be ready. Let's go." They hurried to a hidden elevator that took them deep underground. When the doors opened, they stepped into organized chaos. Technicians, running final checks, pilots in sleek black uniforms preparing for launch. "Status?" Taewon asked as they approached Ji-ho. "All 20 vessels equipped and ready," Ji-ho reported. "Echo devices calibrated and tested. We're ready to move as soon." As the ambassador's ship leaves Earth's detection range, Haeun moved to a nearby console, checking the final data on her invention. Echo had performed perfectly in tests, but this would be its first real deployment. If it worked as designed, the Council's technological advantage would vanish overnight. "Launch. Countdown beginning," announced a voice over the speakers. "All personnel to secure positions." As the massive underground doors began to open, revealing a hidden launch tunnel, Ha-un felt a mixture of fear and pride. For decades, humans had played the role of obedient children to the Council's parental authority. Today, that charade would end. The first black ship rose silently into the tunnel. The human advantage was about to be revealed. Remember that if you use any search results, use tags properly, wrapping specific claims that follow from the search results and using the correct index attribute format. The ground shook violently as buildings crumbled across Seoul. The earthquake struck without warning at 2:17 a.m. local time. Within minutes, skyscrapers folded like paper, bridges snapped, and the Han River surged over its banks. Emergency sirens wailed across the city as rescue teams rushed to help, but they were overwhelmed by the scale of destruction. In the command center beneath Jeju Island, Admiral Taewon Park watched the disaster unfold on multiple screens. His face remained calm, but his hands gripped the edge of the table until his knuckles turned white. "Casualty estimates?" he asked, his voice steady despite the horror before him. "Over 2 million, sir," an officer replied. And rising, Dr. Hyun Kim stood beside him, tears streaming down her face. "This is no natural earthquake," she whispered. "The pattern matches exactly what we predicted from Council deep mining operations." Taewon nodded grimly. "They've crossed the line. No more pretending." He pressed a button on the command console. "Commander Ji-ho, you have new orders. Proceed to Jupiter immediately. Target the Council mining station." "Understood," came Ji-ho's response. "Fleet changing course now." Hundreds of millions of kilometers away, Commander Ji-ho Lee sat in the captain's chair of the lead vessel. 20 sleek black ships moved in perfect formation, hidden from conventional sensors by their special coating. Each carried an echo device, ready to be activated. "New coordinates received," his navigator announced. "Estimated arrival at Jupiter in 6 hours." Ji-ho addressed his crew. "This is not a drill. Seoul has been devastated by Council mining operations. Millions are dead. Today we reveal ourselves." The crew worked with quiet determination. For years they had trained in secret, preparing for this moment. Now it had arrived, triggered by tragedy. "Sir, we're picking up Council transmissions," the communications officer reported. "They're discussing the earthquake. They're calling it an unfortunate natural event." Ji-ho's jaw tightened. "Record everything. The galaxy will know the truth." On Jupiter's largest moon, Military Director Nala of the Council Forces looked up from her console as an alert sounded. "Report," she demanded. "Unknown vessels approaching, Director," her second-in-command replied. 20 ships, configuration unknown." Nala frowned. "Origin?" "Trajectory suggests Earth, but that's impossible. Human ships cannot travel this far." "This quickly," Nala laughed. "Must be a sensor malfunction. Humans are still using primitive ion drives. They can barely reach Mars." Nevertheless, she ordered her crew to full alert. The Council mining station was too valuable to risk. From here, they extracted rare elements from gas giants throughout the system, including the deep mining operations near Earth's core that had just yielded a rich harvest. "Open a channel," she ordered. "Let's see who dares approach a Council facility." On the lead human ship, Ji-ho received the incoming transmission. "On screen," he ordered. Director Nala's face appeared, her green skin and yellow eyes marking her as a high-ranking member of the Nexari species. "Unidentified vessels, you have entered restricted space. Identify yourselves or be destroyed." Ji-ho straightened in his chair. "This is Commander Ji-ho Lee of Earth. Your mining operations have caused the death of millions of my people. Withdraw from our system immediately." Nala's expression shifted from surprise to amusement. "Humans? How interesting. Your vessels should not be capable of reaching Jupiter. Perhaps your species is more resourceful than we believed." She leaned forward. "However, you have no authority here. Return to your planet and the Council will investigate your claims about the unfortunate earthquake." "The earthquake was no accident," Ji-ho replied. "We have tracked your mining operations. For years, we know what you've been doing." Nala's amusement vanished. "Then you should understand the power difference between us. Your primitive ships are no match for Council technology. This is your final warning. Retreat or be destroyed." Ji-ho cut the transmission and turned to his crew. "Battle stations, prepare to activate Echo on my command." Around the mining station, Council warships moved into position. Their sleek silver hulls gleamed in the light of Jupiter. Energy weapons charged, capable of vaporizing the human fleet in seconds. Human vessels refusing to withdraw, Nala's tactical officer reported. "They're maintaining course." "Fire warning shots," Nala ordered. "Show them what they're facing." Brilliant beams of energy lanced out from the Council ships, deliberately missing the human fleet, but demonstrating their power. Aboard his ship, Jiho watched the display calmly. "They're trying to scare us," he said. "Now." Echo devices activating. His chief engineer reported. There was no visible change, no dramatic effect. The human ships continued their approach, seemingly unchanged. On the council station, alarms suddenly blared. "What's happening?" Nala demanded. "Energy fluctuations across hull systems," her engineer replied, panic in his voice. "Weapons failing, shields collapsing, life support systems destabilizing." Nala stared in disbelief at her console as system after system went offline. Around the station, council warships drifted powerless, their energy diverted back against them. "Impossible," she whispered. Jiho's face appeared on her screen. "Director Nala, your ships and station are now defenseless. Your energy weapons and shields have been neutralized by our technology. You have two choices: surrender and withdraw from our system, or we will be forced to take more drastic measures." Nala's yellow eyes widened with fear and confusion. "What have you done? This technology shouldn't exist. Humans shouldn't have this capability." "We've been underestimated," Jiho replied simply. "Your council has exploited our planet while pretending to protect us. That ends today." Across the galaxy, council communication channels exploded with the news. Footage of the encounter spread rapidly, powerful council warships rendered helpless by seemingly primitive human vessels. Special emergency sessions were called as council leaders tried to understand what had happened. Back on Earth, Taiwan and Hayun watched the transmission from Jupiter with grim satisfaction. "It worked," Hayun said quietly. "Echo worked perfectly." Taiwan nodded. "The council knows now. Humanity will no longer be contained or exploited." As the human fleet surrounded the powerless council station, Jiho sent one final message to Earth: "First contact successful. The galaxy now knows what humans are capable of." High Councillor Miru slammed his fist against the ancient stone table. The sound echoed through the great chamber, where the Galactic Council had met for over 2,000 years. 37 representatives from the most advanced species in the galaxy sat in stunned silence as they watched the recording again. On the large holographic display floating above the center of the room, council warships drifted helplessly around. Jupiter, their weapon systems dead, their shields collapsed, their engines powerless, and circling them like predators around wounded prey were 20 black human ships. "This cannot be real," Meru said, his voice shaking with anger and fear. "Humans are a primitive species. They barely understand basic space travel." Science Director Tora, her four eyes blinking rapidly in distress, shook her head. "The footage is authentic, High Councillor. Our most advanced warships were disabled by human technology we cannot explain." The council chamber erupted in shouting. Some representatives demanded immediate military action against Earth. Others called for negotiation. A few suggested retreat from the human solar system entirely. "Silence!" Meru roared, and the chamber quieted. "We must understand what happened before we decide how to respond." He turned to Tora. "Explain how the humans did this. How did they neutralize our technology?" Tora touched her tablet, and the display changed to show sensor readings from the disabled ships. "The humans have developed some kind of energy redistribution technology. When our ships fired their weapons or activated their shields, the energy was somehow redirected back against them." "That's impossible," said the representative from the Nexari Empire. "Energy manipulation on that scale would require scientific principles we haven't discovered in 50,000 years of development." "And yet," Tora replied quietly, "the humans have done it." A murmur ran through the chamber. For many council species, the idea that humans, creatures they had seen as little more than clever animals, could develop technology beyond their understanding was terrifying. "What do the humans want?" asked a representative from the outer. Systems Ambassador Do Yoon stood, his normally confident posture now uncertain. "They demand full withdrawal of all council forces from their solar system. They also demand recognition as a sovereign species, with rights equal to any council member." "Absurd!" shouted several voices. Meru raised a hand for silence. "There is more, isn't there, Ambassador?" Doyan nodded reluctantly. "They have proof of our mining operations on their planet, operations that have caused significant damage and loss of life. The chamber grew very quiet. Those mining operations had been secret, authorized only by the Council's inner circle. The extraction of rare elements from Earth's core had been highly profitable and completely illegal under the Council's own protection laws. 2 million humans died in Seoul, Doyun continued. The humans tracked the earthquake directly to our deep core mining. Councillor J of the Helios Federation stood up. We have violated our own laws. We claim to protect the humans while we exploited their planet. Perhaps their anger is justified. Justified or not, Meru snapped. They remain a young, volatile species. They cannot be allowed full council rights. A junior aide rushed into the chamber and whispered urgently to Tora. The science director's expression changed from concern to alarm. "Aye, Councillor," she said. "We've received a message from Earth. The humans are broadcasting their technology across all communication channels. They're sharing the principles of their energy redistribution device with other protected worlds." The chamber exploded in chaos. Protected worlds, planets whose species were considered too primitive for full galactic participation, had long been sources of resources and labor for council races. If they gained this human technology— "Stop the broadcast," Meru demanded. "We cannot," Tora replied. "They're using our own communication network. Every attempt to block the signal redirects it through different channels." The holographic display changed to show a new map of the galaxy. Red dots began appearing on dozens of worlds as the information spread. "There's more," Tora added. "The humans have requested to address the Council directly." "Denied," Meru said. "Immediately. They say if we refuse, they will release detailed evidence of all illegal Council operations throughout the galaxy." Silence fell over the chamber once more. Each representative knew their civilization had bent or broken Council laws, when convenient. If such information became public, the Council's authority would collapse completely. After a long moment, Meru spoke. "When would they arrive?" "They're already here," Tora said softly. The massive doors at the end of the chamber slid open. Admiral Taewon Park and Dr. Ha-Yun Kim walked confidently down the center aisle. Neither appeared intimidated by the assembly of the galaxy's most powerful beings. Behind them floated a small metallic sphere, an echo device. The Council representatives stared in shock. No human had ever set foot in the sacred chamber. "Councillors," Taewon said, bowing slightly. "Thank you for receiving us." Meru's face darkened with anger. "You force your way into our chamber and threaten our authority across the galaxy. Why should we not destroy you where you stand?" Ha-Yun smiled. "Because you can't." She gestured to the floating echo device. "This prototype is currently redirecting the energy from your chamber's security systems. The weapons trained on us right now would fire back upon this room if activated." Several councillors shifted uncomfortably in their seats, glancing at the hidden defense systems built into the chamber walls. "What do you want?" Meru asked, his voice cold. "Justice," Taewon replied simply. "Recognition of our sovereignty, compensation for the damage done to our world, and a restructuring of how the Council treats all protected species." "Impossible demands," Meru said. "The Council has maintained galactic order for millennia." "Order built on exploitation," Ha-Yun countered. "We've studied your history. Your protection has always been a cover for taking resources from developing worlds. Earth is merely the first to discover the truth and develop the means to fight back." The youngest council member, Representative Lin, leaned forward. "These humans speak truth we have long ignored. Perhaps it is time for change." "Change?" Meru scoffed. "They would upend thousands of years of galactic stability." "Stability for whom?" Taewon asked quietly. The question hung in the air as representatives looked at each other uneasily. For many, the council system had brought unprecedented prosperity, but always at someone else's expense. "We will need time to consider your demands," Meru finally said. Ha-Un nodded. "You have 3 Earth days. After that, we release everything. We know to every world in the galaxy." As the humans turned to leave, the council chamber remained silent. For the first time in living memory, the most powerful beings in the galaxy felt fear. Not of weapons or armies, but of simple truth revealed and of the small device floating behind the humans that had changed the balance of power forever. Dr. Ha-Un Kim stood by the window of the observation deck, watching the swirl of stars outside the massive council station. For generations, humans had dreamed of reaching the stars. Now she stood at the heart of galactic civilization, about to change its course forever. "It's time," Admiral Taewon said, approaching her side. "The council has reached their decision." Ha-Un nodded, taking a deep breath. "Whatever happens today, there's no going back." They walked together down the long corridor leading to the council chamber. Guards from various species lined the walls, watching the humans with a mixture of fear and curiosity. 3 days earlier, these same guards had looked at them with contempt. How quickly things changed. The massive doors swung open. The chamber was packed, not just with the 37 official council representatives, but with observers from dozens of other worlds. News of the human technology had spread rapidly across the galaxy. Many protected species had sent representatives to witness this historic moment. High Counselor Meru sat in the center position, his face unreadable. "Dr. Kim, Admiral Park," he acknowledged as they took their positions in the center of the room. "The council has deliberated on your demands." Ha-Un could feel the tension in the room. Behind her and Taiwan, the echo device floated silently, a constant reminder of humanity's new power. 3 days ago," Meru continued, "you came before us with accusations and threats. You demanded recognition as equals. You claimed we had exploited your world while pretending to protect it." He paused, looking around at his fellow council members. "After reviewing the evidence you provided, we have confirmed that unauthorized mining operations were indeed conducted on Earth, resulting in geological instability and loss of life." Murmurs spread through the chamber. This was the first public admission of the Council's wrongdoing. "The Council acknowledges this violation of our own protection laws," Meru stated formally. "We offer compensation for the damage caused and commit to the immediate cessation of all mining activities in your system." Taewon nodded, but remained silent. This was only the beginning of their demands. Meru's expression hardened. "However, your request for full council membership is denied. Your species is too young, too untested in galactic affairs." Ha-Un stepped forward. "With respect, High Counselor, that decision is no longer yours alone to make." She gestured, and the central holographic display activated. It showed images from dozens of worlds across the galaxy, planets long classified as protected by the Council. On each world, people gathered around communication devices, listening to the proceedings. "The age of secrets is over," Ha-Un said clearly. "The peoples of these worlds know what you have done. They have received the plans for echo technology. If humanity is denied a voice, they too will rise." The council chamber erupted in angry shouts. Representative Jay stood, calling for order. "The humans speak truth. We have violated our own principles. If we deny them now, we lose all moral authority." "Authority comes from power," countered another councillor. "If these protected species gain this technology, chaos will follow." "Not chaos," Taewon replied calmly. "Change." From the back of the chamber, a new voice spoke. "I support the humans." Petition. All heads turned to see who had spoken. It was Representative Lin, youngest member of the council. "For too long, we have claimed to protect developing species while exploiting them. This cannot continue." One by one, other representatives stood in support. Not a majority, but enough to create a deep division in the council. Meru's face showed his frustration. "You would upend thousands of years of galactic order." "We would correct thousands of years of injustice," Ha-Un replied. From her pocket, she removed a small data crystal. "This contains evidence of every violation of protection laws by council members over the past century. We will release it galaxy-wide unless humans are granted full council rights and a commission is established to review the status of all protected worlds." The chamber fell silent. Every representative knew what such revelations would mean. Outrage, possibly even rebellion from exploited worlds. Meru looked around the chamber, reading the faces of his fellow councillors. Finally, he sighed heavily. "The council will vote," he announced. The voting process took only minutes, though to Ha'un it felt like hours. Green lights and red lights flashed as each representative made their choice. When the final tally appeared, Meru's shoulders slumped slightly. "By a margin of 3 votes, he announced, "the Council grants Earth full membership status and agrees to establish a commission to review protection policies throughout the galaxy." The chamber erupted in a mixture of cheers and angry protests. Ha'un felt a wave of emotion wash over her. They had done it. Humanity had won its place among the stars. 6 months later, Ha'un stood in a very different setting, a simple classroom, on a planet called Zora, 18 light-years from Earth. Before her stood 12 scientists from a species that resembled tall, slender humans with silver skin. They watched intently as she activated a teaching display. "The principles of energy redistribution are actually quite simple," she explained. "Your people's understanding of wave harmonics makes you uniquely suited to adapt this technology." One of the scientists raised a hand. "Will this truly protect us from council exploitation?" "It already has," Ha'un replied with a smile. 17 formerly protected worlds have now been granted independent status. The fear of your technology alone is enough to ensure respect." After the class, Ha'un received a message from Taiwan, now serving as Earth's official representative on the council. The image showed him standing beside Representative Lin and several other reformist councillors. "Protection Commission has approved 3 more worlds for advanced status," his message read. "Council mining operations being dismantled across the sector. Your next teaching assignment is on Neris Prime. Their scientists are eager to meet you." As Ha'un packed her teaching materials, she thought about how quickly the galaxy had changed. The weapon they had created to defend Earth had become something more powerful, a tool of liberation. Outside her window, the twin suns of Zora set in brilliant purple and orange. In the growing darkness, lights appeared in settlements across the landscape, people gathering to celebrate their new freedom. This, she thought, was the true human advantage, not the technology they had created, but their willingness to share it. In teaching others to defend themselves, humanity had found its place in the stars.